You mentioned that whenever you were thinking about starting your business, it kind of like started after you planned your own wedding.
My dream job was to be a wedding planner. I'm not a wedding planner, but I'm in that world and it's just worked out so well for me. That movie,
Yeah.
Wedding Planner, I loved everything she did. I loved her high stress life. I thought that was like so cool. I was so happy to be married, but I was like so sad that all that was done, all the events, all the activities. I had mentioned to him, I think one day I really want to start this business, one day. Well, let's just plan it now. Like, what would your business plan be? Like, what would that look like? And we got back to the hotel one night and he was like, okay, let's put it on paper. I just thought that I would come home and it'd be this fairy tale thing. I'm done being a buyer. That didn't happen. So I did work at my company for a good year and a half.
Isn't it crazy? The person that you were then will be so proud of who you are today and where you are.
100%.
Right?
Hi, my name is Andrea, and besides of being recently married, I own the leading company in bouquet preservation in the world. It is when connecting with my clients that I felt the need to serve them and help them navigate this new and exciting journey. On this podcast, we bring you everything you need to know to plan the wedding of your dreams. We'll be featuring conversations with top wedding vendors and valuable tips and advice from real couples. Whether you're engaged or simply love, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get started on this journey to your perfect wedding day. Welcome to the club, to Bridal Club.
Welcome back to Bridal Club. I'm so excited to talk to you today. First of all, I've respected you so much and admire everything that you've done for so long.
Thank you.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Linda Whitten with Wedfully Yours events. I am a florist. We do mostly events, wedding events, sometimes some corporate events, baby showers, things like that. But majority of our business is weddings, and we just love those kind of celebrations.
I connected with you, I think it was 2017, 2018. It was pre-COVID.
Yes, it was definitely pre-COVID, probably maybe 2017, I would say.
2017, yes, which is crazy. I think you were one of the first, if not the first florist I connected with. And I remember going to the Walnut Hill coffee shop.
Yes.
It was like the first time that I met a florist. I was so excited to learn more about you. And then I heard your story, and I believe you were pregnant at the time or in
Probably
between.
during that time, I was either pregnant or nursing at some point. So yes.
Yeah. I was just like, how is she doing it all? Like, truly.
I'm always saying that your weight load is never more or less than anyone else's. People are always like, oh my gosh, you have so much on your schedule. But I'm like, I think before kids, I felt like I was so busy. With my first kid, I felt like I was so busy. Then, with the second and the third, I mean, you just feel like you're so busy. So I think as your life grows and changes, you kind of adapt to that. Yes, you're busy, but your mind and your heart and your will and your grit just grows with it. And you just kind of have to do it because that's what life is. And you buckle up and go for the ride.
I feel like I'm so busy as well. And then I see you and other people that have a life outside work as well. And I'm like, how do they do it all? It's crazy.
Yeah. You just build boundaries. You find a stop because your life just gets consumed with what it's at. So I'm always like, my life is not much more busy than yours. You just pivot with it. And you realize, okay, other people need you in a certain way. And now it's not all just your time anymore. I'm sure your husband expects different times from you and things like that. You have to pour into your marriage, you have to pour into your family, your life, and just yourself. So I think learn how to manage those things differently as life grows.
I love it. Speaking of, you and your husband work together a lot. I love the fact that you mentioned that whenever you were thinking about starting your business, it kind of like started after you planned your own wedding. Can you tell us more about that story?
Yes. So we got married in 2013 and I loved wedding planning. And I almost can even backtrack that my dream job was to be a wedding planner. I had always wanted to be a wedding planner. And my cousin actually sent me this clip from our yearbook. And it was like an interview with me in the yearbook. And it was like, what was your dream job? And at that time, I said, I think it was 16, 17, that I wanted to be a wedding planner. So, and it's so cool to see that, 20 years later, here we are. I'm not a wedding planner per se anymore, but I'm in that world. And it's just worked out so well for me. J-Lo was like, that movie, Wedding Planner, was like I loved everything she did. I loved her high stress life. I thought that was like so cool that she did that. But anyway, so we had gotten married, and when I knew that I was going to be planning a wedding, I was so excited. It was just everything that I wanted to do. Party planning, designing, creating all that stuff. I just thought it was really exciting. And so when we were on a honeymoon, I was so happy to be married, but I was like so sad that all that was done, all the events, all the activities.
Wedding blues are real.
It is.
It's
yes.
crazy.
It was like a true wedding blues. Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, gosh, what are we going to do when we get home from this honeymoon? Like, what am I going to do? I had my bridesmaids come over and, do stuff, crafting and all that stuff. And we had a lot of DIY at my wedding.
Wow.
And so I just thought, well, they're not going to come over anymore. We're not going to have all these things to look forward to. So I had mentioned to him, I think one day I really want to start this business, one day. And we did a lot of driving through our honeymoon, and he was like, well, let's just plan it now. Like, what would your business plan be? Like, what would that look like? And we got back to the hotel one night, and he was like, okay, let's put it on paper.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
Like it just makes a big difference when you have a supportive partner, right?
Yes. I
Huge
was like, he was
difference.
just so for it. But then also in a reality, he was kind of like, okay, so now we have this all on paper. We can do this, but let's be real here. We can't just like quit your job and cut your salary.
Yes, that's
So
just
he
the
was
thing.
like, are you
That's
ready
funny.
to get the grit and go for this, because you're gonna have to work your regular job. I can't support us both. I mean, I just thought that I would come home and it'd be this fairy tale thing that I'm gonna walk in and be like, I'm done being a buyer.
Right.
So that didn't happen. So I did work at my company for a good year and a half or two. So that's kind of like how that all began and started and came about, that I
Yeah.
started Wedfully Yours events.
That's funny. The timeline is very similar to mine, actually. And I do agree. Justin, he knew I wanted to do it full time. He's like, not yet, not yet, not yet. I'm like, why?
But
I'm
wait,
ready.
why?
Yeah. I honestly, I felt as though I was ready because I was already producing almost as much as I was producing at my corporate job. However, the only limitation was time. And
Yeah.
he was still like, you're not ready. You're not ready. Just hold on.
Right.
Very
Oh, yes.
logical
You're
too.
like floating on there. You're like, hey, I've got 2 clients.
Yeah.
So I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be like, this is enough for rent right now.
Yeah.
So I should be able to stop. Right. And he's like, no. And I honestly, I wasn't unhappy at my job. I worked for a great boss and the team was wonderful. I enjoyed being there. I just didn't love going to my desk every day.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
that's not what I wanted to
Yeah.
be doing. And
Yeah.
so it was just hard to wake up every day, drive into the office and
Yeah.
sit there knowing that I could be doing something else.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
it was a good reality check, but also it was hard.
Isn't
to
it
do.
crazy? The person that you were then will be so proud of who you are today and where you are,
100%.
right?
And like, just even like telling friends and family that you're going to start this thing and you're going to do it like on the side. And my goal is to like leave my company and like go do this. Like, I
Yeah.
really want to do this. And everyone's kind of like, that's cute. How's your little
Yeah.
business going?
Right.
And then as things start taking off and as you're like leaving the job, everyone's just kind of like, oh, that's your husband must be making so much that he can support you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a journey for sure. And I
Yeah.
would definitely be so proud of her because it's a leap to take.
Yes, for sure. How long have you been doing this, by the way?
June was 12 years.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Congrats. We met in 2017, so
Yeah.
it's been however many years, 8 years.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And I feel like your style has changed to a degree, but it's always so true to you. Seriously, every single time that I'm scrolling on Instagram and I see one of your photos, I know without knowing that it's yours. And I
I
love
love
that. I love that too.
Yes.
So tell me more about your style. I feel like it's very like free floating.
There's like free flowing, romantic, rambling style. I think that's personally what I am drawn to. So I have a lot of florists that I admire looking out at some of their stuff. And I know I don't personally like something that's completely restrictive and manicured, but I'm also not your boho type florist either, where things are sticking out places and there's things. I like for things to have a nice order to it. That's why I'm like, I think it's interesting that the best word to describe it is free flowing, but we really try very hard to make sure those stems are like perfectly placed and those kind of things. I would describe it as like more of like a manicured garden style. So
Oh, I like that.
garden style, yes, because if a stem comes in and it's got like a cool wave to it, I don't want to take that away. I'm like, that is such a cool natural thing that it's grown that way. It's nature's work and God's work. And I don't want to take that away, but I want to find a good spot for that so that it can be highlighted, but that it doesn't look random.
Yes.
It's all very thoughtful and meticulous in how it goes. So throughout the week when we're designing a compote or a bouquet, if I see it, I look at it, I'm like, okay, let's turn that around. And literally just one tweak to it and makes a big difference to it. I would say we're more of a manicured garden because I think me personally, oh my gosh, I think the kids have really released a lot of my reign on things and a lot of my control. And I think that's just kind of how the evolve has gone, where it's just kind of like, okay, you're going to release a lot of control in there, but I want order to things. I don't want things just to go be chaos, you know? So,
and I mean, you go to your feet and everything flows very well, like from installations to bouquets, like everything looks so
intentional.
Yes,
I want it to look like, oh, I'm not a go with the flow every day kind of person.
Yes.
I can let that part go. I just want there to be a rhyme and a reason to all of it.
I love it. And then let's talk about storytelling. Even though you have a signature style in a way, you still cater to a lot of different people, a lot of different styles, and
Yes.
honestly, every color. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that too?
I love that you call it storytelling. In each one of these events that we do and everybody that we put onto our books, our calendar, there's a story behind why they're even there in the first place. It's easy to just book this bride, get her through. It's really easy to do that. But I try very hard to think back, okay, this couple has a story that they've come in here with. And I don't want it just be a random, I just like pink. And that's just what I want. We try to get their background, what they like. If you've ever been to a wedding before, what did that make you feel? And so, what do you want people to feel when they come into your event? And I'm like, not to take away from any other vendor of a wedding, but flowers really make the design of the event. If there's a memory of your grandmother, your mom, or your dad, any kind of nod that you want to give to them, I want to make sure we incorporate that in there. I think that's important. And I really appreciate tradition, sentiment, meaning to everything. I want that to filter through the whole day, through the whole design of it all. Sometimes when we are in the middle of setup and bridesmaids come in, because I feel like, you chose your bridesmaids because they're have some sort of meaning to you. And so usually it's bridesmaids that come in first when they see us setting up the reception, and they're like, that is so,
Oh, wow.
and it just makes sense that she would choose these kind of things. That for me, I'm kind of like, okay, but then we did our job.
Again, intentional. It's kind of like the word so far. I love it. Let's talk about customer experience.
We have lots of brides that we work directly with. And then over the years, we have evolved in our business. A lot of our brides come through with planners as well, regardless of however that kind of comes in. We talk to the bride or we talk to the planner. Typically, either one will have an idea of what they're wanting, what their vision is. A lot of times they'll have like design decks and it just has a whole line out of what their story is. And then we kind of take that into consideration. We put together a proposal. And in this proposal, we say that these are highlights of flowers that we feel like that would be good with this design and with your story. We use probably anywhere from 30 to 50 different varieties of flowers and greenery in every single event. But those are kind of like the stars of the show. So at that point, we kind of talk about what we want to use them in, what your bouquet is going to look like, what your main installation is going to look like, just throughout the whole entire event. And we include what kind of vessels that we recommend for that as well. From there, we kind of just get feedback on things. Sometimes some brides are like, I really don't like that particular flower. And we just kind of go back and we say, okay, yeah. So we kind of adjust from there, just so that you can kind of get an idea of what your wedding day or your arrangements will look like. I always describe to brides, I'm like, I know that we don't have an actual product to show you at this moment other than pictures and then the pictures that you have gathered. We're asking you to trust us that we're going to create something, because I can't do a mock-up of your arch. I know it's a very abstract thing. And so this is kind of like the most that we can kind of do. And even sometimes when we do a centerpiece mock-up, that means we have created a sample arrangement for you to see with your table settings and all that stuff. Sometimes it still doesn't portray the day of, because it's a different time in the season that we're doing this. And then it's completely different when there's one arrangement versus the 20 that you're going to have.
But honestly, like everything in the wedding is that way. You just really have to trust your vendors.
You do. I know that this is like so hard to do. We're asking you to just take a leap of faith. And I'm always happy to hear feedback, hear thoughts. And when we're meeting with these brides, it's at least 6 months out. Sometimes they're closer in there. But
what's preferable, by the way?
We roll with it. We've had brides come in 6 weeks before.
What?
Oh, yes.
Lately, right? No?
I mean, even during like COVID times, we've had,
gotcha.
yeah, but no, I feel like in the last 5-6 years, we've had people come in and it's not small events. They just feel like, okay, this is when we're ready to do this, and we pull it together, and sometimes I feel like that is kind of cool, because then it gives you less time to think about stuff. But sometimes if we are getting brides on the book, a year ahead, I'm always like, listen, our email is open, my phone is open. If you feel like there's any new ideas or something like that, please reach out. We'll kind of talk through it and get that going. So that's our proposal, our quote process. And then we'll have like a final meeting about 4 to 6 weeks out. And then that's when table counts change. Or if she's come in and said, you know what, I really don't even like any white in any of my stuff. I want just all color. There we can kind of adjust what we need to kind of get the order right and the recipes for all these arrangements and things like that going. Then we finalize everything in-house with a team, with the planner, if they have one. And then week of is production time. It's hard for us to do anything before the week of, because inventory might be used for another event, or, and it's fresh product.
I want to talk to you really quick, because I don't think I've covered this with anybody else before. when it comes to flowers, people are like, well, why are they so expensive when you go with a
Mm.
florist and actually just buying them yourself and DIYing them? Can you please tell us why it's so important to hire somebody that's going to take care of them? And honestly, everything that you have to prepare before the event.
Really good question. And I know flowers cost a lot, and I know that it's a luxury to have. But like we were saying before, they just make an event.
I
They really
know.
do.
They really do.
So the cost, we are like 70%, maybe even 75% administrative and prep work of the event.
Wow.
Maybe like 25 to 30% of actually designing all
Wow.
the stuff. The whole process of quoting all the things out, unique vessels, we try to get cool arches and structures and things. Sometimes they're custom structures that we have to
Wow.
get built. So I'm like, we spend a lot of time at Home Depot and Lowe's and things like that more often than at a flower shop sometimes,
Wow.
getting the mechanics of things going, counting all of the inventory, making sure all that's intact. And if it's not, trying to source the right stuff.
Everything that goes into being a florist is not just creating something pretty from flowers that you just got. It's so
Right.
much into it.
Yes. And then so then going with your design and sitting down and creating. So I say recipes, I mentioned that before.
Yes.
Each one of the arrangements has a specific recipe. And my husband, being an accountant, he's kind of like, well, isn't there some kind of like formula that you can go with? And I'm like,
A spreadsheet. That's hilarious.
yes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, we've transitioned to doing these recipes in a spreadsheet, but every one is so different.
Yeah.
I mean, even from one blue and white wedding to another blue, it's just not the
Yeah.
same.
Plus, you don't want them to be the same. And your
No.
clients don't want them to be the same either.
Right. And so we just really want to make sure that we pay attention to each one and make something a little bit different. So maybe it is two blue and white weddings, but this bride might want some chamomile in hers and have like a little bit more like farmhouse feel and a little bit more vintage feeling. This girl might be a little bit more manicured and she might want to have hers a little bit more tailored. So kind of going to what you're saying, like, I love a free flowing garden style, but I also want to be able to create what you want. It's
Right.
eventually, because they're kind of like, well, what do you recommend? Let me kind of talk to you and interview
I
you
love that.
so that we can kind of tailor this to what you want. I understand that this is our particular style, but if you want things to be a little bit more, tighter, and we can totally make that happen.
Right. Yeah.
And so from then on, we take this recipe and these totals and all these counts, I place it in with the wholesaler. And then now that's on me going back and forth with the wholesaler. What's available? Okay, that's not
Wow.
available right now.
Oh my gosh.
So we have to sub this out. And if it's something that very specific, like an anemone, and that's not in, we do mix in some faux if the bride is open to it. That's something that she
Right.
really, really wants.
Or different colors, which you did for one of my
Yes,
birthdays.
yeah,
During
yeah.
the storm, which I still can't believe you did that. There was no business that was open.
Yes.
And it was my birthday.
Yep.
And
And we
there was
had to
some-
get it to you. He was like, I know it's snowing. I
Oh
know it's
my.
snowing. I'm like, I think I can drive it through. I told my husband, like, do you think the roads are okay? And he's like, it should be fine. These moments, these times, like we really put a lot of effort and thought into all of that. And we just want to make sure, because that was one of the things I love celebrating. I love cherishing those moments.
Yeah.
And I think flowers do a really good job of doing that. And so we just want to keep spreading that joy in
Yeah.
there. So I know sometimes weddings can have a lot of emotion and things like that tied to it. But, we're here to keep the calm and, flowers, you can't be upset when flowers are around.
I agree. I agree. What happens if somebody just comes to you and they're like, I just want white flowers? Do you like suggest a couple like different color palettes or something like that that may align more even with their vision that they don't even know they may have? Or how do you go about that?
I really do think that there's a time and place for a classic white wedding. It just depends on what you have dreamed of all your life. I don't want to take that away from anybody, and I want to make sure that they get to live that. So if she is like, I just want classic whites, for sure. We can definitely do that, and I want to honor that, and we'll do it to the best that we can. But if I know that the bride is like, well, but I really like this like coastal style, or I really want something that's really in depth, I can suggest like some other accent colors, or like, maybe we do a little bit more greens and stuff like that. Maybe that will kind of bring some more depth to your color
Okay,
palette. So because I want a lot of our designs to look like it's layered at the same time. Like
Yes.
I don't want this flat thing. I want dimension. I want a lot of depth into it. I want very multi-dimensional kind of look.
Yes.
But if she's still set on, I just want whites, then I'm like, okay, well, how about texture? Because I
Yes.
love texture.
Same.
And I feel like that is like another element to floral design and installations and stuff like that, that most brides, your average bride isn't going to know about and not think about. So I'm like, there are lots of different kinds of flowers that we can kind of bring into that. So maybe you want an all white rose bouquet and things like that. But maybe for your installations, maybe we can kind of take it another notch, do something a little
Yeah.
different on that.
I love that you're saying all of that because it's like literally I put here like same, like everything. Flower preservation is the same way. Obviously, we're preserving the job that somebody
Yeah.
created on the one hand. On the other hand, a lot of clients come to us without knowing exactly what their flowers are going to look like, and they're
Right.
looking for recommendations. And yes, while we will absolutely do an all white peony bouquet or all white rose bouquet, we will say like, okay, can you at least like consider spray roses so you can have those textures and those
Yes.
layers or something. I will say that none of the bouquets that we gotten from you have been boring whatsoever. And we know they're from you. We know the quality.
I love that.
They're amazing.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. I never want to deliver something, and not that, that's never happened before, that someone has been upset about something. That's just, I can't control that,
Sure.
right?
Yes.
But we really try to do our best. I'm like, you got weather against you, you've got product availability. There's all this kind of stuff that, is working against you, and you can
Right.
only do your best.
Yes.
I used to really hang on to every single like negative feedback that would kind of come
Oh,
through.
yeah.
And I'm just like, I can't control these things. So we can only do our best. We bring extra stems. We make sure that it's fixed, and we preserve colors too on certain things. That's why we have the sprays and stuff like that we need to, just to make it look right.
Yeah.
If a tone is off, you have to understand it's a natural product, and we're
Right.
working with fresh product. So
Yes.
we are only doing our best.
Yeah. And I agree. Same thing with us whenever we receive the bouquet. Sometimes somebody will ship the flowers during summer
Yes.
from Alaska. It's quite a bit of a journey, right, for us
Right.
to get the bouquet. And so we just have to be super transparent and of course do our best, and we do. And I love that you do the same thing.
Yes. And
Always go above and
from
beyond
it
for
to
sure.
get from us to you, I'm always like, okay, from the time that the flowers have come in to reach your event day, those flowers have been through quite a journey.
Yes.
Because our flowers come from, some we try to get locally ones if we can, but most of them are coming from Mexico, Holland.
Yeah.
So that's a journey within itself. Then it gets from the wholesaler to our studio,
Yeah.
and then we're processing and getting it there, and then we're designing it, we're getting it done, then we're transporting it to the event. So, it's in a box truck. Sometimes we get a refrigerated truck if we need to, or, whatever it is. But for the most part, it's in a truck to the venue.
Yeah.
And so from the truck to inside, there's just a lot
Isn't
it's
that
been
amazing,
through.
though? I mean, it's
Yeah.
really just like something that the bride carries. It goes through so
Yes.
much. I
It's
love
lived
it.
a life. I'm always like,
Yes.
and they're like, oh, I really hoped I could save some and, donate afterwards. I'm like, we can definitely repurpose your flowers. Just know that like they've lived
Yeah,
quite a
especially
life.
in the summer, like
Yes.
in Dallas, it's
Yes.
crazy. It's 100 degrees outside right
Yeah,
now.
it's very hot.
Yeah. And there's weddings happening literally outside. So
Yep. Yes, I
Yeah.
know. And that's something we always tell brides. I'm like, hey, I know this outdoor ceremony sounds so great. Just know that the flowers might be really tired.
tired. I love that. It's been an honor, honestly, preserving for so many years your creations. At the end of the day, we're literally, as I said, preserving something that you created.
Yeah.
And we just love, obviously, how they come up because of the flowers that you use.
I think it's so neat that they live on in people's
Yeah.
homes.
Thank you. They get to see the piece, and they honestly are just taken back to the special day, and they obviously think about like their florist too. I want to talk to you before we go about basically somebody who's dreaming of launching their business and becoming a florist. What would you tell them?
I would say you just got to do it. I know that's like such a vague word to put out there, but if you've had that interest, if you have that thought, if it's burning in your mind, you just got to feed it. There's so many different shops, different styles, especially if you're in the DFW area. There's just so many ways that you can get involved and get into it. Or you can go out and buy your own flowers, and you can kind of design at home. And like if you find joy putting those stems
Yes.
and creating something out of that, and then you feel so pleased afterwards, that's a fire in you. It's like there's some ember going, and that's
I like
something
that.
that you have to fulfill. Otherwise, you're going to keep thinking about it constantly, and then you can just keep sitting there thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm always like, if it doesn't work, you can go do something else.
Right.
But I feel like if you wanted to get into this and you wanted to do it, then there's lots of avenues, and you just got to do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's always that first step. I don't know why people are so fearful of it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have our husbands that are
I know.
just like, you're thinking about that? Let's do it.
I think it's just the what ifs. I think it's just kind of like, well, and it's scary to fail at something.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people look at where someone is at, and that has taken them a decade to get to,
Right.
and so in those first 5 years, in that first year, in that first month,
Yeah.
there's so much like lolling around. You're not really sure. And so
Yeah.
uncertainty is really scary. And so I think that's what people have to get past. And so I think for me, as calculated and as planned as I am, sometimes I just rip off the band, and you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And then I can't look back, because you just got to keep moving forward.
I agree.
And then until you realize, okay, this isn't for me, then you move on to do something else.
Yeah.
So it's worth a try, but yeah, totally scary. Don't want to discount that. Don't want to take that away, but being uncertain is a really nervous thing
Yes,
to
but
do.
I do agree with what you said, and thank you for saying that. It's not even fair to compare yourself to somebody who's been doing it for so long.
Yeah, and that's hard to see because you're just kind of like, man, she's got her own office, she's got a team.
Yeah.
Why can't I have that? And I'm like, well, I've been doing it for a year only. I
Right.
was by myself for many, many years
Yes.
before a team ever came on about. And then hiring people, getting people on, I mean, that's just a whole feat within itself.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
feel like the progression of owning your own business and where it takes, because everyone's business is going to be so different.
Right.
And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, is like you make it work for you.
Yes, I do agree. In your life. And again, like
Yes.
being a mom, a wife, and everything that you have going on, you just make it work. So I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
You got to.
Yep. So where can people find you, connect with you, and hire you to do their wedding flowers?
I have a Instagram. It's at Wedfully Yours. And then our website is www.wedfullyyours.com. Email is always the best. Definitely reach out. Would love to hear from you and see if we can start doing some flowers for your story.
Perfect. Linda, thank you so much for your time. I
Yes,
love this
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.